Good morning and welcome to For the District. It's the podcast for Jackson Madison County Schools. This morning, we're spotlight Madison Academic and their robotics team as the robotics team named High Voltage is headed to the 2026 VEX V5 Robotics World Championship. Now, this is in St. Louis. More than 35 countries will be represented at this 4-day event in St. Louis. It is the VEX Robotics World Championships. And the robotics team at Madison Academic aren't strangers to competition. Their coach, Kyle Wallace, joins us today, along with a trio from the team: Elijah Benson, Nicholas Blondet, and Landon Smith. Coach Wallace, thanks for joining us this morning.
Yes, sir. It's good to be here.
So, in the Jackson Madison County school system, there are a number of opportunities for students. Of course, we know there's athletics, we know there's the arts, but then you think about STEM and career and technical education. I think robotics falls in that category a bit. For a moment, talk about the class you teach at Madison, and then we'll get into the robotics component.
I teach principles of engineering and engineering one. Principles of engineering, we just learn about the different types of engineering and how they incorporate in our everyday world. And we do a lot of project based assignments where kids can get a chance to do hands-on activities and really use their creative minds and to come up with some good innovation ideas. They learn about 2D drawings and learn how to draw in the 2D software. And then engineering design one, we learn how to draw in 3D software. And then they learn how to use the 3D printers and to create actual parts that can possibly be used in manufacturing, automobile, whatever design they want to come up with.
One of the cool things about career and technical education is the fact that the instructors typically have real world experience. Tell us about your background in the trades and career and technical, and how that helps shape the way you interact in the classroom and lay out your lessons.
Okay. I went to trade school back in 97 to 99 after graduating from Southside. I went to TCAT. I worked mostly in, I've worked for the state government, the federal government. I've worked for consulting firms and all the different styles of engineering, from mechanical, structural, architectural, civil. I even done some utility work for AT&T. So I bring a lot of different styles of engineering to the classroom.
So I wonder, in the course of teaching the engineering design or in the course of working with the robotics team, are you reminded of different assignments and items and projects from the real world?
Oh yes, the biggest thing that we have in robotics is the engineering design process, where we have a concept and we have the idea, we put it together, we run tests on it. If it doesn't work, then we continue to add on to that test, and which is everyday life. Everything you do in life is a pretty much an engineering design process. If it doesn't work, we try to find a way to get it to work, and then we continue on. And teamwork is crucial in robotics.
We're visiting with Kyle Wallace. He's the engineering design teacher at Madison Academic. He's also the robotics coach. And this month, the Madison Academic robotics team, specifically Team 3831C, also known as High Voltage, they're headed to the VEX Robotics World Championships in St. Louis. Now, you in the regular season, so to speak, have a bigger team. I think maybe 5 or 6 students. And as the postseason goes along, those students break up in the groups. Explain the team setup as far as robotics in the Jackson Madison County
I
School
have
System.
I have 3 teams. I have one sophomore team and 2 freshman teams. Both teams consist of all 3 teams consist of 5 to 6 students, where we have a key builder, a backup builder, a key programmer, a backup programmer, and a driver. We have a notebooker who has to document everything that changes on the robot. And all of these key players play key roles for us getting awards at tournaments. Our one of our freshman teams went with us to Iowa and competed at the Iowa tournaments, the U.S. Open. And then Team C that we had now, they went to state and they'll be going to Worlds. So I have 3 teams. I have possibility to having up to 4 6-person teams here in our at our school.
I know athletics is in your background, but I want you for a moment to explain to listeners how team robotics helps students build character, real world employability skills. Talk about that for a moment.
And at our tournaments, we actually team up with another school to compete against 2 other schools. So they have to collaborate with each other at every tournament. But each round, you're participating with another school. So they've got to work on communication, and it describes what their robot does, what does the other team does. They have to come up with a strategy that best works to beat the other 2 teams. So you may beat 2 teams one round, and next round that team could be on your team. And then they get interviewed by judges. They have to learn how to talk, be social, because you have to create alliances at the end of the day, and you have to pick your team, and that's a team that you go all the way through finals. So it's a lot of real world experience that they have to do at these tournaments.
This is For the District, the podcast for Jackson Madison County Schools. We're spotlighting the robotics team at Madison Academic High School as they're headed to the World Championship Invitation in St. Louis. More than 30 different countries will be represented, and it is 4 days of intense competition. Coach Wallace, can you describe that setup at all for us?
I cannot. I've never been here. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a madhouse. I think it's just going to be overwhelming to go play against teams from Beijing, Australia, Canada, all over the place. There's supposed to be 860 something teams, and these teams will be divided into 10 divisions of 86 teams. So you have to win your division to compete against another division to win and continue on until you make it to the world championship match.
So they could be paired up with a team from another country.
They could, and they could be teamed up with a team that won worlds last year. They may have won their state tournament this year. They could be, yeah. So now language barrier comes into play. So we have to learn how to talk and communicate robotics wise through a language barrier.
It's time for us to take a timeout. You're listening to For the District, the podcast for Jackson Madison County Schools. After this brief timeout, we're going to hear from Elijah, Landon, and Nicholas, members of High Voltage, the Madison Academic Robotics team, headed to the World Championship in St. Louis, Missouri, along with their coach, Kyle Wallace. Vex Robotics and STEM education, very big here in the Jackson Madison County school system. Don't go anywhere. We have more For the District after this timeout.
Hey, guess what? We get to pick our clubs tomorrow at school. What should I pick?
What about picking 4-H?
That sounds like fun, but maybe I'll pick choir club or STEM club or nursing club or photography club.
You could say my kids are excited over all the options and opportunities offered by Jackson Madison County Schools. Our public schools offer more than 100 different clubs and activities for students.
Wait, I know. Ukulele club.
Oh boy, maybe let's stick to art or debate.
For options and opportunities, tuition free, choose Jackson Madison County Schools.
We're recording this on a Friday, and you guys have a band concert. Which song are you most looking forward to playing? Do you have a favorite?
That's hard to choose, but I think for tonight, I'm most looking forward to Rage.
Awesome. Landon, you're a member of the Vex Robotics team at Madison, headed to the World Championships in St. Louis. But first, I want to ask you, are there any other activities you participate in there at Madison?
Yes, sir. Every other week, I lead a Bible study after school for around an hour. And so it's pretty good. We have snacks and we just come together and have fellowship in a devotional.
Very good. Was there anything at the middle school level in your mind when you think back that helped prepare you for the challenge of being on a robotics team?
For me, I was on the Green Power racing team, so it gave me a lot of mechanical experience of moving parts and using various motors and differing voltage and currents to get the best speed possible out of what you're using. And so that really helped me too, especially I also worked on the printer at our old school, our 3D printer. It would love to break a lot. So I constantly worked on that, and it gave me a lot of troubleshooting skills that were very useful when it comes to robotics.
Nicholas, in terms of success, how much of that is the process of trial and error?
So usually for the basis of our code, that was pretty easy. We didn't need too much trial and error for that. There's this period in a match called the auton period, or the autonomous period. Instead of Landon driving the robot, it's my code that drives it for him. And that part, especially if it's not set up like almost perfectly, it can require a lot of trial and error.
So Landon, Nicholas just mentioned code. And so I know you have uh, a lot of experience in robotics because you were a part of a robotics team prior to the Madison team. So explain to people at home when you say code, when you guys say that, what that means.
So essentially, code is when we write commands on a computer in a specific format that it tells our controller of the motors exactly what to do. So it tells which pneumatic to trigger at which time, and which motor to spin at what direction or how many degrees at what specific time. It also helps to gather information from all the sensors that we have across the robot to put it all into a stored information bin and use it for other actions such as tracking where the robot is on the field and other motions such as that. We use C++ for the language of our coding.
Landon Smith, Nicholas Blondet, and Elijah Benson, 3 members of the Madison Academics Robotics team, headed to the Robotics World Championships in St. Louis. Nicholas, let me go back to a question I asked the guys. The name of the team is High Voltage. I'm assuming the students came up with that. What can you tell us about picking that name and maybe another name you might have thought about?
Really, high voltage, as Landon said, it really stood out to us because, it really just rolls off the tongue really well. It just sounds good. It sounds really official, makes it sound good too. And all the other names that we looked through weren't really, they were good, but they didn't really represent us as a team.
So, Landon, you went to middle school at Northeast and Community, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Nicholas, how about you, your middle school years?
Oh yeah, I also went to community Montessori.
Was there anything at the middle school level, and I'll go back and ask this to Elijah level later, was there anything at the middle school level in your mind when you think back that helped prepare you for the challenge of being on a robotics team?
There was a STEM class, but it didn't really apply much to robotics. So for the most part, we were on a clean slate.
How about you, Landon?
For me, I was on the Green Power Racing team, so it gave me a lot of mechanical experience of moving parts and using various motors and differing voltage and currents to get the best speed possible out of what you're using. And so that really helped me too, especially I also worked on the printer at our old school, our 3D printer. It would love to break a lot. So I constantly worked on that, and it gave me a lot of troubleshooting skills that were very useful when it comes to robotics.
Before I go back to Elijah, let me ask you guys this question. You're headed to the Robotics World Championships, but I'm curious, after listening to Coach Wallace and some other things you guys have said, the idea of pushing past failure, whether it's failure in a code or failure in the building, can you speak to us about that lesson that you have to learn on the way to success, and how do you deal with that?
Yeah, on the way, you have to learn everything. Everything that goes wrong, you have to learn from, or else you won't go further because of how efficient the robots that make it to various competitions like Worlds are, and that win even the normal competitions, because they're so efficient. If you don't learn lessons about, for example, like friction, if you have too much friction, then you won't make it because you won't be fast enough. Or if your drivetrain is not the right speed, you won't be fast enough. So these are all the lessons we had to learn from freshman year, like what motor to use, when to use it, what to use it for. And if we didn't learn that, we wouldn't have been going to Worlds right now.
We'll bring in Elijah Benson back in before we have to head to our second commercial break. Elijah, can you speak at all to what Landon just talked about, the whole learning from your mistakes in order to be successful? Can you talk about that?
Yes. So what we've noticed is a lot of the other teams, their robots are very good. And even at a state level, there's a lot of challenge to beat them. So every mistake that we make, we have to learn from it, or there's no way we'll even be up to par with them.
We're visiting with the team from Madison Academic. Usually when people talk about Madison and competition, they're thinking about Madison boys soccer, former state championship. They think about girls soccer, going to state multiple years in a row. Cross country has been to state 19 years in a row. They think about those spring sports, track and field. But today it's robotics that has Madison Academic back on the map as the team, High Voltage, is headed to the 2026 VEX Robotics World Championships in St. Louis, and there will be an official team send-off on Monday. And typically, again, we've seen that with some of the athletic teams. Nicholas, are you looking forward to the send-off where the school celebrates the robotics team?
Yeah, I think so, because especially with, as you said before, whenever people think of a Madison team, they only they typically think of sports. In fact, if you like do a poll on most of the students here, most of them probably don't even know they have a robotics team. So it'd be really interesting to it'd be good, yeah.
So Landon, with Nicholas having said that, what do you guys hope to accomplish now that the spotlight's on you?
Obviously we really want an award at Worlds. I mean, that's a bit of a long shot, but I would just love to bring home an award or just anything really from Worlds, like especially at one of those banners just to hang from the stairwell. It'd be really cool.
Speaking of the stairwell, you guys will walk down the stairwell for the school-wide send-off. Have you been a part of one of those before?
Yes, sir. We had a send-off for state.
And what was that like?
It was a bit nerve-wracking to begin with, but after that, it was pretty fine. It was a lot different than you imagine it to be.
Elijah, how was the send-off last time, and what do you hope it's like this time around?
Last time we had it in the morning and everyone was a little bit sleepy. Hopefully this time everyone will be a bit more awake and able to understand what's happening.
This is For the District, the podcast for Jackson Madison County Schools. It's time for a quick timeout, and we're visiting with the robotics team from Madison Academic and their coach, Kyle Wallace, the engineering design teacher at Madison. Don't go anywhere. There's more For the District right after this timeout.
School bus drivers like Billy Hill are making a difference every day for Jackson Madison County Schools.
What is the thing about the job that keeps you coming back?
The kids, of course the money, but the children. I look forward to at least making a difference in one of their lives. I would like to make a difference in all of them, but if I can get one every year, it'll make me come back the next year.
Visit jmcss.org to join Mr. Hill and more than 70 other drivers making a difference in our community for Jackson Madison County Schools.
Welcome back to For the District. It's the podcast for Jackson Madison County Schools. I'm Greg Hammond, Chief of Public Information for JMCSS, and this morning we're spotlighting Madison Robotics as the high voltage team is headed to the World Championships in St. Louis, Missouri. Madison's robotic program has already earned really international recognition just by being invited. And now, over a 4-day period, they're going to be up against some of the world's top high school robotics teams. More than 30 countries are going to be represented at this event. So when you hear people say intense high-level competition, there's a lot of truth to that. The VEX Robotics competition, not only in high school, but also in our middle schools, continue to inspire future STEM innovators. And I'm joined by the engineering design teacher at Madison, Kyle Wallace. And fun fact, Coach, every time Dustin pops up on my email, I'm thinking, who is Dustin? Who is it? But it's Kyle.
My professional name.
Yeah. So something you were telling me earlier, when it comes to the robotics competition, coaches have to be hands-off. Of course, when you compare that to sports, when in sports, the coaches are there on the sideline or on the baseline, and they're barking instructions to the players immediate feedback. That doesn't happen in robotics. Can you explain that to us?
So when they go to a competition, it's very important, with it being a student-led program, that they have to know the ins and outs of the game. They have to know the rules and regulations, what can and cannot be done, because during a match, if there is a problem that happens or a violation, they have to be able to call that out to the judge and explain that, hey, the other team did this violation. But I can't argue with the refs. If I get too loud and rambunctious, we get, was it a G1 violation? That means that's bad sportsmanship. and your team can actually be eliminated from the tournament based off of how their reactions are. So with it being student led, I can't do anything except ask them what they do. How can we improve on it? And when they say their plans for the next round, I leave. I can't help with the robot. I can't help build the robot. I can't hold the robot. I cannot do anything with this team.
Knowing the skills the students are building through Vex Robotics, where could you see these students in 6 years, in 10 years?
I could see them in the engineering field. I really could. I could see my coder. I could see him anywhere in the computer science industry. I could see my builder, the ingenuity that they have when they create the robot. And that comes from all three of them. He's just a builder, but all three minds come together. I could see Elijah. I could see him becoming some kind of a leader because he helps me out tremendously with making sure that I have all the stuff that I need, that the team has all the stuff that they need, even the stuff for the other teams. He has been kind of like my assistant coach, because he takes a lot of the load off of me during competition days.
And he does what you're not allowed to do.
Yes.
We're visiting with Elijah Benson, Landon Smith, and Nicholas Blondet. So want to ask a couple of last questions. The idea, and Landon, you can take this one. The idea that you guys are playing a game in robotics, but all week long you're building real world skills in reading and writing and teamwork and cooperation. Kind of spell that out for parents who may hear this but may not correlate the benefit.
Yeah, when you hear robotics, you typically think just putting some metal together and calling it a day, but really it teaches you a lot of troubleshooting with everything that goes wrong, because trust me, no matter what team you are, something will go wrong. And the code in the robot teaches a lot of coding skills and especially communication, because there's notebookers, coders, and builders, and even drivers. And so the coder has to know how to program the robot based on how it's designed, what motors are where, what motors are supposed to do what or spin what direction. And he also has to know what controls the driver wants, and the driver has to know what buttons do what, and the builder has to know how the game works and how it needs to be built for the code to track where it's at on field for autonomous periods. And then everything needs to be communicated, all of that back to the notebookers so that they can document it.
So Nicholas, I have to ask, with Landon coming in with some experience in robotics, just based here locally in Jackson, Nicholas, how big of a advantage has that been having Landon on the team?
It has been a good advantage because instead of starting on like a completely clean slate and having to learn everything on our own, we've had someone with like actual real experience that can like help guide us with like especially the building process.
You've been listening to For the District. It's the podcast for Jackson Madison County Schools. We've enjoyed hanging out with High Voltage. It's the robotics team from Madison Academic, and they're headed to the Robotics World Championship in St. Louis. We want to thank Elijah Benson, Landon Smith, and Nicholas Blondet, along with the head coach of robotics, Kyle Wallace, who's also the engineering design teacher at Madison Academic. If you missed the first half of this conversation, we want to invite you to our YouTube page so you can hear those comments from Coach Wallace. And as always, you can check us out at radio731.com. I'm Greg Hammond saying I hope you have an excellent Sunday, a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, guess what? We get to pick our clubs tomorrow at school. What should I pick?
What about picking 4-H?
That sounds like fun, but maybe I'll pick choir club or STEM club or nursing club or photography club.
You could say my kids are excited over all the options and opportunities offered by Jackson Madison County Schools. Our public schools offer more than 100 different clubs and activities for students.
Wait, I know, ukulele club.
Oh boy, maybe let's stick to art or debate.
For options and opportunities, tuition free, choose Jackson Madison County Schools.